Welcome to my video series, The Heroine's Journey. I'm Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. This is my 10th video about the heroine's journey. And in this video, we're also, like in the last one, going to be talking about the threshold guardians. And the last video, we learned these are the internal and external voices that you hear when you're about to take a big step, a leap out of your comfort zone, out of what the journey terminology we call ordinary life, and go on an adventure, answer a call, commit to something that may seem foreboding to you because it's so big, but it's all about your evolution and your growth, and you're being called to do it. And these threshold guardians appear with their warnings. Don't go, you can't do it, you're not smart enough, young enough, old enough, pretty enough. Oh my gosh, all those warnings that they internally in your own head, your thoughts, and then even people around you. And so this video, we want to talk about, well, then what the heck do you do about them? We learned that they're universal, these thoughts. It happens to everybody. It's part of our programming, part of our survival brain saying, hey, stay safe. Don't go out into the savannah. The saber-toothed tiger will get you. And so we know to expect it. It's automatic, which makes it not so daunting if you know that it's just part of the journey, part of what we have to expect. But how do you deal with them? So part of it is the awareness that this is going to happen. If you're going to think of some big goal, that something you want to do and go after your dream, know that these voices will be ever present, particularly when you're going to take that step of committing to it, but also throughout your journey. So they're universal, they are to be expected, and it's helpful for you to get to know them, which I had spoken to in the last video about the Positive Intelligence book that Shirhad Shamin wrote, where he takes this threshold guardian concept, which again, other people call the critic, the judge, the enemy within, the gremlin, and he delves right into it because his belief, and I agree with him, is this is the biggest roadblock to our fulfilling our dreams, fulfilling our potential. And he came up with 10 different, he calls them saboteurs, and he has an assessment. So if you go to positiveintelligence.com, you can find this free assessment and figure out and learn what your main saboteurs are out of those 10. But if you get to know, and you don't have to do that, if you just kind of know what's the voice that's the loudest voice, the loudest negative voice. You're too old. You're not smart enough. You'll never make enough money. What's the biggies? And acknowledge it and accept it. Write it down. Okay, I'm hearing you. I'm listening. Because sometimes even in arguments with our fellow man or with people in our family, if we're not really listening to what they're saying, they just keep getting louder and louder, and you have to talk to me. Well, it's the same thing with those inner voices. So acknowledging, being aware. And here's the other thing that we'll talk about more, is that you can choose if you want that voice to be your focus or not. The more you're aware of it, the more you can see, oh yeah, it's doing its thing again. And do I want to keep listening to this? And I told you the last time, you can supplant it with something else. You can say an affirmation, something that's the opposite. I am perfectly equipped to do this work. I will make money doing this work. And so turn them around. So often these are automatic old programs from your childhood that we take in and we just believe they're truth. And I had a client that said, "Oh, I thought we were supposed to do what they said." I mean, it's so a part of you, you don't even realize that, no, they're not a part of you. They're not even true. They're just, you take them in at some point in your development and believe that they're true. So, one example is a story that I've heard about how things get passed down and believed. And it's about a grandmother preparing a Christmas ham. And she passes this recipe of how to do it. It's such a delicious ham. The family always raves about it. And so the daughter really wants to know, how is this done? And she teaches the daughter. So you make crisscross slices on the ham and you put cloves in it at the intersection of each of those crisscrosses. And then you make a special sauce with mustard and maple syrup and you spread it over the top. And then you get ready to put it in the pan. And the special thing is to cut a little bit off one end and cut a little bit off the other end. All the preparations now have been made. Put it in the pan and cook it in the oven at 350 for an hour. And it always comes out perfect. And so she teaches it just like that to the mother. And the mother takes it in and she makes it and it works out for her. And then she decides, oh, it's time for me to teach it to my daughter. So she tells the daughter the same thing. It's time, honey, come help me make the ham. This is what we do. You know, grandma's really special, delicious ham, and the crisscrosses and the cloves and the maple syrup and the mustard, and cut an end off here and cut an end off here, and it's ready to go. And the daughter goes, I don't know. Why are you cutting the ends off? What does that have to do with the ham tasting better? I said, well, I mean, that's what I was taught by your grandmother. I mean, this is how you make this ham. But if you really want to know, ask her. So the granddaughter goes to the grandmother. So what is it about cutting the ends off that is it like somehow it's juicier because those ends aren't on there? And why is that? And the grandmother's, oh, because the pan was too small, I had to cut the ends off. And so it had nothing to do with making the ham better. It was just the grandmother's particular pan. But this gets tossed, turned on, carried over generation to generation. And you buy it and you believe that that's what you have to do when you really don't have to. And I had a particular example with my mother. So my mother grew up during the Second World War, and she always told me, and you probably will laugh to think that I took this in, but when you hear this stuff as a child, it's almost subliminal. It's there in your consciousness and part of what you think is right and true. And she always would say, find the guy that you want to live with, be with, your life partner, your husband to be, when you're in college, because after that, all the good ones are taken. It was that phrase, all the good ones are taken. And realistically, I didn't believe that. But again, it was working inside of me, so much so that, yeah, my senior year after Christmas break, I met the guy who I ended up marrying, my first husband. And it didn't work out for me. But the thing is that my mother internalized that warning because she was dating and meeting people when she was in college. And then the Second World War hit. America joined the war. All the guys left. They were gone. And so she was trying to help me by passing down information and knowledge that worked for her, but was no longer applicable. So the threshold guardians, they mean well, but it really behooves us to pay attention to what they're saying and then question. And so often they have to do with survival. And it's interesting because we've talked about how they're a piece of your survival brain. And if you've seen that wonderful TED Talk with Dr. Jill Taylor, My Stroke of Insight, and she's also written the book, she talks about having the stroke and losing her survival brain and then going to her right brain where she feels calm and compassion and all the feelings, peace, joy, that help her then to live a very different life than living from the survival brain, threshold guardian, warning, danger place. So I talk about the heroine mindset, that you accept what is and then you work with that. You don't have to be worried and be afraid of danger, but whatever comes your way, you can learn from it and it can be good. And you don't have to run in the other direction. And there's that wonderful Taoist fable about the farmer who happens to find this wonderful horse. Well, he has a horse. His horse runs away. And you know this story, I'm sure. And all his neighbors come, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, your horse ran away. And he says, well, that might be bad. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. And then what happens is the horse comes running back, and the horse has 3 more wild horses with him. And now he has more horses, and the neighbors come, hey, this is great. This is such great news. He says, oh, maybe. So then his son goes out and gets on one of the wild horses and starts trying to ride it, and he can't, and he is thrown and he falls and he breaks his leg. And the neighbors, oh no, this is horrible. This is the worst thing ever. Farmer says, maybe. And so then the country goes into wartime, and the general comes around conscripting people and wants to see if there's a son that the farmer can give to the army, become a soldier. Sorry, you can't, because my son has a broken leg. So the farmer's son is okay, doesn't have to go to war. And the neighbors come, oh, you're so lucky. That was great. He didn't have to go into war like our sons. And the farmer, of course, says, maybe. So again, the heroine takes what comes her way, doesn't get thrown off her own goals by whatever the neighbors, internal and external, say, and continues on. Maybe. We don't know. Is this good news or bad news? And so that to me is, and also making, it could be, look like a calamity, but maybe really it's an opportunity. We don't know until we work with it. So that's the heroine mindset. And really it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If it's always, oh no, this is the worst thing ever, well, what you focus on grows. Maybe it will be. But if you have in your head, oh, maybe this is an opportunity in disguise, that might become your self-fulfilling prophecy. So that the threshold guardians are all about, they're going to come, know they're going to come. They might sound like disaster, but they might not be disaster. Work with them, maybe invite them in, get to know them, and they'll probably be with you for your whole adventure. And they have a job to do. Just in case you didn't know, They'll warn you about the possible dangers, but you don't have to believe it at all, hook, line, and sinker. Okay, well, thank you for joining me on this video and on the heroine's journey. I'm so glad you're here with me. Remember that you are a heroine. You are on this fabulous, epic journey of transformation. I hope you'll check out the other videos and continue on with me, and check out my Instagram and website, and I'll see you on the road.